Hello everyone, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis. Welcome to today's video. Today is going to be a top 5 video talking about narrative campaigns. Narrative campaigns are an absolutely awesome aspect that applies to both 40k and AOS. I haven't tried one in AOS, but it can work, I'm pretty sure. They give us a different aspect of the game that you can really try things out. Whether it's by watching a highly detailed with custom missions and lore videos on mini wargaming, or just 3 or 4 games with your friends that all culminate in some final apocalypse game where the results before count towards that final game. It doesn't really matter. Narrative campaigns are something that everybody can do. And in today's video, I'm going to count down the top 5 reasons why you should do narrative campaigns. Even if you don't care about lore, even if you're just a gamer or just a painter, you should try narrative campaigns. And these are my top 5 reasons why.
Number 5. Variety of units and army builds. 40k and AOS have a plethora of armies, and then within each of those armies there is a huge amount of options for building said army. Age of Sigmar, honestly, probably does this better, because within the 4 factions, Order, Chaos, Death, Destruction, there are dozens of little factions. I mean, looking at my Dark Elves that I've got on the screen here, there are at least 3 factions represented here. And that's just in a small little collection that I built over a semester. There are so many armies available and builds available that are not necessarily good, but thematic. Narrative campaigns allow you to make thematic, unique lists that you would never be able to do. For example, maybe you want to try an all Rough Rider Imperial Guard list, using Riders of Rohan if you need to. Maybe you want to try out a list of all elite heavy infantry who generally suck, but would make an armoured bulwark type thing. Whatever it is, narrative campaigns give you an excuse to make these custom lists beyond just experimenting with your friends in a normal game of 40k and AOS, which of course you can still do. It gives you a reason to try out thematically cool but perhaps subpar units that you wouldn't often use, and create these armies that you would never have the opportunity to do so otherwise. Well, you would, which is why this is at number 5 on the list. You would have the option, but the narrative campaign gives you much more of an excuse than just messing around with your friends might do. And that's number 5. Variety. Number 4. Custom models and conversions. Honestly, narrative campaigns are the best excuse for a converter or a painter maniac to go mad. Because sometimes models just write themselves into the history books. You may have a lone squad that just refuses to die. And if they just keep surviving the campaign at the end of it, you can repaint them, convert them with extra honor markings or something like that to make them memorable. They will be the units that forevermore will be the ones that refuse to die. I have in my collection a big shooter boy who in his first game blew up a rival orc truck. And I converted his entire squad to denote the fact that he blew up that truck. For no other reason than I thought it was cool. That was outside of the narrative section, but it is a real excuse to get out there and convert awesome looking models. You can do this before, during, or after the campaign. Whether you want a unique leader to take your forces into the campaign, or tokens to remember certain games after the campaign, or to represent character progression throughout the campaign. The narrative options are endless. It's lower on the list for me because I'm not a massive painter converter, but it is important to others. So that's number 4, custom models. Number 3, custom lore. Be honest, not everybody likes the lore that GW puts out about certain armies or individuals. The Grey Knights particularly got a little bit of flack in 5th edition for the way they were written. I'm not going to talk about all of that here. But what if you had the opportunity to change the lore? Write it for yourself, make your own canon, create characters who go against the grain of what the stereotype of your army stands for. Whether that's through their actions, their behaviorisms, or simply their methodology in waging war. And through narrative campaigns, you can forge these characters. You can create them as simple individuals with not much story behind them. It's up to you. And then you can take them to the field and watch them develop and evolve through progression tables if you wish to add to their legend as they perform deeds on the battlefield. Optionally, you can create stories for favourite existing characters, taking lesser named characters perhaps, or ones mentioned in passing in a book you've read, and expanding on their tales, letting what you'd learned about them in the books or in the codices become more. Of course, if they canonically die and they're alive in the universe, then you may have to come up with some wiggle room, but lore writing is something that I think is awesome about narrative campaigns. You can write whatever you want for your characters as long as it suits your needs. And to be honest, I always enjoyed writing lore. I enjoyed writing lore for my own armies, or I even wrote a 40k short story as part of coursework because lore is just something I enjoy that much. So lore writing for me is one of the best things about narrative campaigns. You can forge a narrative and do what you want, and sometimes that's all you want out of 40k. So that's number 3, custom lore. Number 2, custom games and missions. This is the crux of narrative campaigns. You can make your own games up. This sort of ties into the lore that was in the number 3 spot, because you can create missions that narratively fit what your campaign is trying to do. For example, you may have a game that is based around a pursuit mission. You may have a game that is based around a what would you call it? A dogfighting thing using the new Death in the Sky. I mean, I don't know how good that is. I haven't really looked at it, but you could do all sorts of things. Custom games, even if it's just a minor tweak to the 40k rules, or whether it's a completely custom setup using like old specialist game rules, using Zone Mortalis from the Horus Heresy. There are so many options that you can use to create your own games and do things your way. AOS is not as strong for this, at least right now, because there's no point system in the game yet. There's one on the way, and so balancing up a game is kind of more difficult. You're already kind of playing custom games. You've got a basic army builder guide, but it's at a push. So every game is kind of its own thing, and you're making a lot of thematic lists. And this also ties back, obviously, to the number 5 spot. You can create thematic lists in narratively themed missions to play your own custom rule sets. And that's why this ranks higher than those 2. So that's number 2, custom games and missions. And in the number 1 spot, the top reason why I think everybody should try narrative campaigns, tying everything we basically said on this list together, you get to do things your way. Your models, your lore, your missions, your builds, your rules. Narrative campaigns are basically your way of taking all of the shackles off of your experience of Warhammer 40,000 or Age of Sigmar. There are no restrictions. You're writing the story. You're creating the units that go into it. You are designing the missions. You're in control. There are no rules because you're making the rules, and you can decide to not have any rules. That is the beauty of the narrative campaign. It takes away any idea of, oh, we're just going to play a standard game, or maybe you get this mission this time, we'll play tactical objectives this time, and we'll play this many points this time, and whatever. You get to take all of those restrictions away and do what you want to do. And that's why I love narrative campaigns. And they appeal across such a broad spectrum of players. If you're a painter, you can create custom models around the characters featured in the campaign. If you're a lore writer, you can go crazy creating background for individual characters, for the world, for anything you want. And if you're a sort of a game designer or someone who just likes to mix up their games, well, you can write custom missions. And if you're a bit of an experimental type, someone who bridges the gap, maybe likes the narrative and likes to play, or likes converting in gaming or converting in lore, well, you can do unique army builds that you would never get a chance to do otherwise. So that's why you should do narrative campaigns. It's the freedom of choice. That's all for today's video. I do hope you have enjoyed it. Make sure to leave your thoughts for this top 5 and any future top 5s that you'd like to see me do in the comments below. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis. Until the next time, I'll see you all again. Bye for now.